There we go. We're recording.
We have some live watchers.
Awesome. Hello. Probably some of the fun people like Angela and Leah.
So today we're going to go through 3 behind-the-scenes secrets that Mandy used to 10x her impact and her income. We're going to talk about how to redefine your Superwoman persona without sacrificing your health, sabotaging your wealth, or surrendering your soul's purpose. So with that, I would like to introduce my partner in consciousness, my wonderful wife, and have you talk to us a little bit about what you'd like to cover today. 3 behind-the-scenes secrets in redefining our persona. What is our persona? Why are we defining it? What are we doing here?
Yeah. So, well, a lot of the times when we get into business, we move from one persona into another. Like most of us have had, and I did, right? I had a job, so I was an employee, and then I moved from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. And I had read books. I actually didn't have anybody in my life that was an entrepreneur, so I didn't really know other than what I'd read in books. And this is 11 years ago, so before the internet really. I mean, there was internet, but there wasn't, quite the magnitude there was today. So, just starting to learn what it meant to be able to have multiple income streams and to have an online business, and at that point I had just come from working at an internet marketing agency where it was nothing for a company to spend $100,000 a day in an ad buy, and for our company to generate leads for that client, right? So it opened my eyes to money wasn't as real as what I thought it was when I was an employee. So there's all kinds of personas that we move from, and in my case, I was I had that Superwoman ideal. I wanted it all. I wanted to change the world. I wanted to have a family. I wanted to travel the world. And, I had a lot of energy and a lot of drive to do that. And, I quickly learned how much energy it takes to try to have all of it when you constantly are doing it, or you're trying to mimic what other people have done. And it hasn't been until some of the things we're going to talk about today that, by shifting who we be, we're able to really pull on some of those income levers and those impact levers that we used to think we had to switch with doing a lot of work.
So one of the things I'm hearing here is that your persona is sort of how you think of yourself, but more importantly is sort of how you show up to other people. And if you wanted to create something new, or move into a new audience or move into a new way of being, you were moving from this job into being an entrepreneur, and you didn't have a lot of entrepreneurs around you. So I know, for instance, you were leading organizations of other marketers, and in that leadership role, it got you a chance to be around other people. And then as you ascended in your coaching career, they still thought of you as that original person when you felt like you needed to leave behind that old persona. So that's sort of where I take is how you're showing up to the people, how you're being received.
Yeah. And and as you evolve in your business, there's lots of different levels, just like it was in your childhood, right? We moved from being a baby to a toddler, and a toddler to a child, and a child to a teenager, right? Or a preteen and then teenager, right? We have so many stages that are very similar within our business where, if you're wanting this next level, it often means you sort of have to leave behind, even like energetically, or as far as those labels, you have to shed those around the people that you're with, because it really does limit your your expansion when you continue to operate from those personas. And one of the first books that I wrote was actually about shedding those personas. It was written with Dan Kennedy, who was one of my early mentors. And we talked about shedding the labels and the baggage that people attach onto us, right? Oh, well, she's smart. She's creative. She's, she knows email. She knows Twitter, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah, you get put in those buckets. So
Mm-hmm.
today you're going to help us understand how to redefine that persona. And I appreciate you giving us an idea of what that persona means and why you would want to redefine it so you can sort of up level is what I'm taking from it. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to post it in the chat, either on the webinar or on Facebook. I'm watching it as we go. And I think we were all...
Just Superwoman. I'd like to invite the men that are on the call too, it's anybody. I know that, Ron, and we talk about with your story sometimes, there's pieces where you're growing into who you are and who you want to be, and you have to shed all those layers of, and Superwoman, Superman has this energy of taking care of everybody and, handling it all, right? And those energies can end up feeling kind of burdensome if they aren't shed throughout the process.
So what is the first secret that you would like to unfurl? We talked about stop networking on your level and make more powerful connections. So
yeah. So the first secret that I learned was I had been studying some of the work from Jack Canfield and his first principle from the book, The Success Principles. And it was take 100% responsibility for your life. And, that sounds easy and simple, right? And then you see, as you really try to embody that, how that permeates, your entire existence. So for me, I was president of a networking organization, and that afforded me some luxuries of getting to know people. But there was definitely some constraints and ceilings and boundaries that those people had on me, that when I went into a different environment, even when I went to a different city, within that organization or that structure, I was perceived much differently. And it was kind of shocking to me at first, to have people look at me differently. And then once I sort of caught on to that was what was happening, it made me feel even more constrained within the environments that I'd created and that I'd built up, because like these people weren't seeing me like those people did. And, if I could go back and change it, or sometimes, it's fine just exactly like it is. I find that my journey so I left that group, right, and went and found another group who felt like they got me more, right? And that separation, it later I've been able to go back to that original group and back to some of the other groups and, introduce myself again. Who are you? How are you doing? What things can you help with? And it's been okay. But I see entrepreneurs again and again cutting themselves off from those groups, those relationships, because it's uncomfortable to reintroduce ourselves to people. But there's got to be this balance between redefining who you are within the group of people that like every time you get another certification, it's, hey, who are you, and what are you up to, and what are you passionate about in the world? And then when people give you the evidence of like, well, that can't happen, or that isn't possible, then that it's not that you're not okay and your ideas are not okay, but the person that you're talking to isn't ready. And sometimes that permeates within the organizations or the social networking circles that we're in. So that's one of the reasons why I started learning to master the art of social connecting. And I was teaching it to clients and using it for myself, because I could go be me in this new capacity on LinkedIn or on Facebook, and start to connect with people all over the world who didn't know me as Mandy, president of the Marketing Society over here.
So in the material, we talked about stop networking on your level, right? And for me, based on our conversation sort of prepping for this, when you're networking on your level, like sort of the downside of that is you're not up leveling, you're not pushing yourself, you're not getting out of your comfort zone, you're not going to new people, right? You're not going to people that are maybe at an income level above yours, or you're not seeking out mentorship, right? Or you're not pushing it to the next level. So we've gone on events where we've sponsored in order to get into people's, into people's lives so that we could pay for the privilege to talk to them, right? That's a way for us to push ourselves out of our comfort zone and do that. And so sort of some of how this shows up sometimes is if you've been in the same groups for a long time, maybe that's a local networking group where you know everybody and it's comfortable and you look forward to talking about it, and maybe there's some new people. But if that's sort of how you're doing things the same way, it's a little like fishing in the same pond over and over. And I think what you were doing is that's part of how you create your reality. You were saying a 100% responsibility, and you create your reality. So if you feel like you can't up level and go talk to these other people, or you feel like you have to be in this group, then everything in your reality will sort of reflect that.
Of course. So like for me, I started off when I went on my own with the idea that I was going to offer free social media help. And then like not knowing.
Turn that down. I mean, that's great.
Knowing it, I had a real hard time getting people to pay for the social media help I would provide. Right. And so I realized that, I had to move into a group of people for a while that.
Let me. Why did you choose free social media help initially?
I was working at a search engine optimization firm, and it was a domain that I could buy. Like freesocialmediahelp.com was available, so I was told that that's a good domain. And then I thought that like I would create this place where all this content was, where people would come to me, and then that would lead, like if I gave enough free stuff, it would lead to people paying me. But I didn't know how to get that. I didn't know how to make that transition happen.
But
so
you didn't say I'm the greatest social media person in the world, luxury social media. You're doing that free is because that was sort of the persona you had adopted initially.
Yeah.
Right? That way you could get your foot in the door.
I was so attached to wanting to give information and wanting to share that I didn't realize that the sharing and the telling and the teaching was oftentimes over giving, and was harmful because it allowed people to think that they had what they needed and not really transform what it was that they were looking for. We're all in the business of transformation, and it wasn't until I really learned to co-create those superhero situations, right? I didn't come in anymore and try to save everybody, but I came in with my expertise and my knowledge, and then partnered with people to create what I wanted to create, right? To figure out together how that would happen, that I was able to, say a price for what I was doing, with the social media help, and people were like, oh, totally, I'd pay that. It's no big deal. And that's a wonderful feeling if you haven't had it yet, right?
So you create your reality is a secret that lets you network beyond your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
So the second topic is how being rooted in confidence is key when you're making a big shift. And you're like, stop doubting yourself.
Yeah. And this one comes up as another place where, because it's kind of like Christopher Columbus, right? He's like, I totally believe the world's not flat. I'm going to go prove it. And he, built ships and got people and headed off. Right. So we all have this idea in the beginning, and a lot of times throughout our business, where we're like, I want to go create, an info product. And then we get an idea for it, and we go out and we spend all this time doing it. And then like we have something that feels like it's a stop in the world, right? Like it can't happen. And instead of continuing to be committed to what it is that we originally chose, we let someone else's doubt or questioning of what it is that's going on just totally obliterate the idea that we had. And oftentimes it brings most of the entrepreneurs that I know back to a almost less than ground zero, because they just get in fits and starts of buying into other people's doubt that it can't work or that people won't pay them or whatever.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you have to believe in you more than you believe in them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We also made some notes about how asking people for their, sort of confirmation of what it is that you're trying to create or where it is that you're trying to move, in essence, sort of relays the doubt that you have. If you can be your own confirmation, that you don't seek this external validation from other people.
Mm-hmm.
And the quote that I have from you when we were prepping was that confidence is a choice. I thought that was magnificent.
Yeah, and that one's hard to like remember. Or you don't like it when you choose to, not have clients show up. Oh yeah, I chose to, not continue to believe that, whatever it is. Like we have all kinds of ways we distract ourselves with that.
So a lot of times people decide that confidence is something that you get once you've had some amount of success. But if you have a knowing, right, and you know what you're going to create and you know that you create your reality, there's like a bypass where you can just choose to show up as you're confident instead of having to rely on some external device to create this idea that it's okay to be confident now.
Yeah, we missed it. We misidentify and misapply confidence so much. We can't. It's a thing we'll have when, and that's a big lie. It's a big lie that we buy into. And confidence it's just a choice, just like happiness. But that's for another call.
Happiness is a choice. Dun, dun, dun. I feel like that's a meme.
Mm-hmm.
So, do we have any comments on that? Any questions as we're going on? I know we're cruising material. Anybody have any sticking points? Anything they want to bring up? I appreciate you guys being here. I want to recognize some of the first people that came on. I saw Joanna, LaShonda, Leah, Sailor, Sonia. I know that I saw Arthur on there. A couple of you dialed in on the phone. I'm not be able to get to everybody, but I really appreciate it. I'm just checking Facebook. We're good to go on to secret number 3. Right?
Our cruising through this.
Right? We're doing good. We're not used to, not having distractions, right? So we talked about how you create your reality and how confidence is a choice. And the third topic that you had was how to insert yourself into important conversations. Stop waiting for acknowledgement.
Yeah. So a lot of the times in my my biggest quantum leaps within my business have been where and where I was holding myself back sort of right before it happened was in places where I was waiting to be validated or get a seat at the table when people were having conversations, like willing to be anointed the authority in a certain circumstance instead of just, going back to secret number 2, right? In just having the confidence to not doubt myself and say, you know what, this is what I want. And, this is the value that I can provide. And then having, whatever happened and allow people to make their own choices from there. And once I started to see, and I would do it where, I would choose with my body to be sick, or I would choose to procrastinate. a lot, but in order to not get something done, right? Or to show up as somebody who couldn't do it, when really I was very passionate about a particular topic, or I could see the opportunity that was available that people weren't choosing. And so, you know, as I'm imparting this wisdom to you, like, go out there and start having conversations. And this is where social media is such a gift to us right now. And whether it's Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter, if you can clear your points of view and just really tap into which social network can I play with that will bring me the clients that I want to play with, and really approach it from that energy, then you can start to have conversations on each of those social networks that share your ideas and share your version of what's possible with people, so that it may not be that this group of people that you're hanging around with right now get you and get all the magnificence that you are, but by setting yourself up socially to have these conversations, others will see it, and it's a magnet that will draw people to you. And so often we're afraid of social media. I see it with my clients again and again, because we're so taken with metrics, like I didn't get any likes, or I didn't get any comments, or the only people who commented were my asshole family members, right? Or ex-boyfriends or girlfriends or whatever it is, right? Choose beyond that. Don't wait for, well, when I get published in Entrepreneur, then I can be an authority on this subject. No, just go out there and start being an authority. Start having a point of view about something. And then we can always deal with what happens afterwards. But 9 times out of 10, it is not as bad as you think it's going to be.
So to recap what you're saying, and feel free to, you know, swap my wording around, right? You create your reality, and confidence is a choice. And what's holding a lot of people back from sharing on social media or going about that change is they're not willing to share their point of view. They're not willing to share themselves. They're not willing to step out, and they're waiting for an invitation, or they're waiting for some sort of acknowledgement. So they literally avoid these things. They avoid these opportunities because they're afraid of being judged, afraid of being wrong.
Yep.
And all that's so subconscious, that fear just sort of holds you in place. And once you shine the light on it, you're like, oh, you're right. I do know what to say. So one of the things that you highlighted in one of your trainings I thought was really powerful for people is you have an analogy where you compare being at a networking event or being at a party, being in a social situation with a conversation. Maybe you just strike up a conversation with somebody at a bar, or they're playing darts, or right, and you compare that to what you do on social media, right? And I love those sort of analogies because everybody's had a conversation before, and when you go to post, if you can see it like something you've already done before, you can lower your barriers and just have it be like a regular conversation. It lets people be more of themselves, which brings up the actual secret number 3 that Mandy's been hiding, right? Is that you being you are the difference and the gift that the world requires. People are looking for you, and Mandy said that, right? You may think that you're looking at just your immediate friend group or who initially responds, but as we've come to know, that people are following your work over a period of time, and they're getting to know you. They're getting to like you, and they're getting to trust you as an authority on the things that you're willing to talk about, how you're showing up. They start to get a sense of how much of a contribution you can be in their life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we got a comment here. She says, I've been aware of how little people are commenting, but I can still see that they're looking and that they're following. Yeah. So one of the things that we do, it's a practice of mine that has helped me 10x my income, right, is just moving from these 3 secrets, right, and then moving that into, okay, so what actions can I take then that support those beliefs, right? And when I feel confident in what I want to say and I go ahead and post it anyway, then it's allowed me to show up more consistently on social media. And the days that I don't feel like it, because I have a plan that I'm working from, I have ideas that a couple weeks ago I was really tapped into the energy of. And even though I don't feel like it today, I can go back and tap into that energy at a moment's notice, because the people are out there and they're waiting for you and they're waiting for what you have to offer. And if we start to get the idea that it's a disservice not to show up for them, it just sort of rocks your whole world. And whether, you know, in the masculine sort of world, they talk about it being competition, right? You don't want the person to go to a competitor. And that doesn't work well for me. But if I imagine that they're not getting the help and support that they need, if I don't show up, it usually motivates me a little bit more to go ahead and continue to go show up. And then work on destroying and I'm creating my points of views that because I make a post today, the phone has to ring like now.
And if it doesn't, then you failed.
Oh, of course, right? Like getting out of your own self-judgment is a whole other webinar.
And you actually gave a little bonus tidbit that I want to circle and highlight and put some exclamations apart, which you highlighted that you recognized that sales wasn't doing something to someone. Sales was doing something for someone. And you said it subtly in your point that you knew that if you didn't show up, that you weren't being the invitation, being the change, being the possibility that other person required. And it allowed you to show up as you are, knowing that you could have an impact, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a whole different than I'm trying to swindle somebody out of their money, which when you're coming into sales initially, sometimes it feels like asking for the money is difficult because you don't feel worthy. And you think those feelings and those emotions are real, right? You think it's real. And what we do is offer you practice, right? And give you more stories so you can see that that's just an absurd objection. If you have a legit product and you know you can create change, why wouldn't you tell people about it, right? It's so absurd to feel like you're doing something to someone. But until you've literally shined the light on some of those beliefs, you're just operating on that autopilot. And you're like, oh, I can't do sales. You know, it's such nonsense. And you said that so cleverly. I wanted to highlight it for the rest of the group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you have questions, feel free to post that in the chat for us, or in the Facebook if you're watching it that way. This is really, you know, there is some doings, you know, like I'm sure you've been on webinars before where they taught you, okay, if you do a Facebook Live, or if you charge 10% more, and you might have even tried those things and, you know, it worked a little and it didn't work totally. If you'll look back at all of that, though, it's not about the tactics. It's not even about the strategies, right? The 10xing your income and the 10xing your impact is really about choice and continuing to take the actions every day that are in alignment with you getting to be more of you, which requires a shit ton of self-care. And a shit ton of time if you're introverted, observing, energy clearing, being present with what is, and
don't forget like manicures.
yeah.
All part of the self-care.
And continuing to find clients that support the way that you want to work and are willing to, or not willing, happily pay the fees that are going to be so fun for you to receive that it's just a joy and a delight to create this life and living. This is where the fun and the freedom of our motto is, right? Expand your impact. More clients, more cash, more fun, more freedom. And it's not about...
Let me give an example of where Mandy changed her perspective, right? And it really created a whole big change in her life. There was this wonderful class that Mandy wanted to take, and it was like a yoga class, right? And it's the teacher and the combination were like in the middle of the day. And it was so unusual for her to want to do something in the middle of the day because let's face it, you work. Like I work 8 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever my day is. I work. And so I can't choose that. And she like scrambled her brain and said, but that's what I want. And I need to put myself first. So I'm going to choose that. And then the first time she was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, it feels so unusual to break out of that old pattern and go do this thing that I want to do. But once she did it a couple of times, she realized the rest of her day just sort of opened up and everything else sort of fell into place. Like, she could choose what she wanted and she didn't sacrifice anything else. It was only her long held belief that she had to do it that other way that sort of locked all that up. And she literally wouldn't allow herself this self-care that made her feel so good, right? She couldn't execute the time freedom that she really chose. And the reason I highlight that isn't, it's not so much about one yoga class, because it ends up being a couple yoga classes a week. But what it did is it unlocked everything else that we wanted to do. And we began to create our life around the experiences that we want to have. And we rearranged the work that we were required to do in order to generate income around the experiences and the life that we wanted to do. We began to put ourselves first, right? And it's such a like earth-shattering identity shift when you're first choosing it, right? But putting yourself first, right? You're the difference that the world needs. Confidence is a choice. You create reality. These principles are sort of easy to talk about in this webinar, but it's another thing for you to execute them in your life. And that was a wonderful example of you showing leadership about, we talk about putting self-care first, right? That you showing up is a critical to you having leverage and you having impact when you're doing the work. So if you're not in the right state of mind, like, why not?
Yeah. And the key to getting the clients or speaking gigs or whatever it is that you want that'll change things for you, right? Being on better stages leads to, you know, better different clients, right? It's being visible. It's being visible to those people online. It's on your social networks. It's being visible to, you know, the people in your network in real life, right? And if you can't be in a vibration of oneness, connectedness, you know, possibility, then you've got to be organizing, if your business is your life too, like, right, you've got to be organizing these assets in such a way that you have the time for the self-care, so that you have the time to know exactly what you need to be doing every day in your business to move the needle forward, to step into the levels of, okay, now I have systems in place, I know how to get clients, or I know my marketing message. Now I've got to get team to support me and to manage it, and you know, whatever that looks like. So, Ron, do you have anything else to add on that before we move into the next piece?
Well, so just to recap, the first secret is you create your reality, and you rooted that with Jack Canfield's success principle of taking 100% responsibility for your life, right? Which is a really key idea, especially when you find things that you don't like. You tend to move away from that principle, like you blame something else. It's somebody else's fault or some other way that happened. Instead of accepting total responsibility for it, you waver on the principle. And that's why these are secrets for us, is because these are rock hard principles. If something shows up in our life that we are not enjoying, we accept responsibility for it. We know that we create a reality, and then we choose what we'd like to have happen next, right? So we could talk about why they showed up today, Mandy. What would you like to hit up next?
Yeah, I would like to know why they showed up.
So typically, if you showed up today, you're tired of a feast and famine sort of schedule. You're tired of trying to figure out every marketing hack and trick and tactic, and you're pouring through your inbox looking at the next, you know, bright, shiny object, right? You want to do more of what you love, right? Creating and teaching awesome material to your audience, and less of what sort of kills your vibe, which is like a feeling of desperately trying to keep up, right? And we deep down in our community, we know that creating with your heart, being an entrepreneur, right? Finally creating a bigger impact, more profits, more freedom in your business is what we'd like. And I'd like to think that these secrets that Mandy's revealed, you can see them as a huge leverage in our life and they could be a huge leverage in your life if you choose them. And being visible is how you break out of playing small. These secrets allow you to be more visible in your life and in your business.
Yeah. Does that sound like the reason you guys are here? Is there some other reason? You can type it in the chat for us. That'd be great, or in the Facebook comments.
Right.
And if you're listening to this later, I'd love to have you just shoot us a quick email. Let us know. This is what we see time and time again with our audience, though. Like they're thinking webinars are the answer to passive income, or they're thinking that info products are the answer, right? And they've gotten a little bit down the path, and then they get disappointed. Whatever it might be, right? What if it's not that? And what if there's nothing wrong? But what if it's really about you sharing with more people who you are and what you're up to, and learning how to make that be just so very magnetic.
So one of the things that you talked about, Mandy, maybe you can expand on, is that you're giving them tools to reach these, these ideas and these dreams and this freedom and these clients and the money and the things that they want. And you're unlocking them with these tools that sometimes seem a little too easy. But one of the things you talked about is you don't have to sacrifice your health. You don't have to sabotage your wealth, and you don't have to surrender on your purpose. Can you talk about how people sacrifice and sabotage?
Well, anytime that we overserve clients, like we've had a client just recently, give up her time with us so she can go put out a fire from a client of hers, right? And that meant she got up really, really early in the morning and stayed really, really late at the office. And that's a pattern that she knows she's got to get out of, right? She wants to be, and you and I have taken phone calls at sort of inopportune times from clients, right? But we've really shifted how our reality shows up in such a way that the clients can just be like, I just need 5 minutes. I need to work through this. Can I help? Instead of, you're responsible. There's a real different energy between when a client calls and they're like, you have to fix this. Like, it's totally not our responsibility, and you have to be the one, right? And oftentimes we get ourselves in those situations. We have to learn to get them, not create them anymore, where the clients are too dependent on us, and we're not creating a collaborative, a co-creation, a partnership with them. We're, a vendor to them, and then we get treated like a vendor, and then we don't appreciate it. Right? So it's learning to stand up for yourself and say, no, I have to have my time, and then I can be able to be there for you. And oftentimes we'll come up with the most elegant solutions to problems in yoga class, or when we take a shower, or,
inspiration.
Yeah. And then the sacrificing your wealth is, if you find yourself with more debt than you have income, and if you find yourself in that feast or famine stage, you're not asking for enough. You're not charging enough.
And maybe they're choosing that because they don't think like they can.
Yeah, you're cutting off the fact that for every dollar you bring in, you think it's yours, but you're really starving the marketing department and the sales department and the admin team that you need to have. Whether they're not, you play all those roles in the beginning, it doesn't matter.
You still have to get paid for it.
Still have to get paid for it, right? So you've got to have some structures in there to do that, or else you're not going to create the wealth that you're looking for. Your business is just going to constantly sort of be suffocating.
So everywhere that you're choosing like stress and working long hours as a way to overcome what you feel like you have to do, and you still choose projects that are bad for you, right? People that you don't want to be around, or people that are, maybe drama, right? Because you feel like you have to, right? Are you willing to see a new possibility? Right? And everywhere where you're maybe sacrificing on the price or the package that you feel like you have to do because you're trying to make ends meet, right? Are you willing to see a new possibility? And where I really see it is like people are not willing to be sort of the crazy different. It might be a, a healer or have a new take on how to change someone's way of looking at things. And you're not really willing to step out and talk about it because maybe you come from a corporate background, or maybe you come from, a family background or a religious background that doesn't really let you be you, and you sacrifice who you are because you want to fit in, right? Those are all signals for us that you being you is that third secret, and that's the difference in the impact that you can make in the world that unlocks these dreams that you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've got a resource that we'd like to share with everybody. Ron, I'm going to move over to screen share.
Okay.
So we've got a resource here. We're going to be teaching a live class next Friday, the 25th, called Connections to Clients. And it's based off of our 7-step system to turning your social media connections into invitations to epic stages and into epic clients just asking to come work with you. And we're running a special right now for the class is normally $297. It's only $97 for a limited time. You'll see the price jump up back to $297 next week before the class starts. It's going to be run live. So if you can join us, that's great. But everything is going to be recorded so that if you can't join us the whole day, or if you've already got plans or something, that's perfectly fine. It'll be recorded and you'll have an entire year to watch the content at your own leisure, work through the materials at your own. So just walking through the steps with you, and these are steps where I'm sure you already have connections on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, right? But if those aren't turning into the phone ringing, aren't turning into people emailing you and saying, hey, I'd like to hire you. If it's not turning into invitations onto stages that get you in front of audiences that are ideal, I'm going to teach you how to take the existing network you have, and those people know people who can help you out, right? We don't have to totally start over. I can find money within your connections right now, right? But sometimes it takes you stepping out of the vortex of your Facebook news feed to see how many more people that actually are there. And within any social network, only a tiny percentage of people actually see our updates anyway. So we've got some tricks that we'll be sharing about how to leverage that and get that to increase. We'll next be walking you through how to organize your time and your team and your systems. And time is the biggest one here, because I've got to get you taking care of yourself, getting your bars run, doing your meditations, moving your body, like whatever your pleasures are, right? Yummy, good sex, whatever it is, that has to go on the calendar first. And then I need you to manage your energetic team if you don't have the resources to pay for a physical team, or your, actual physical team. And then we want to create systems. Systems are what allows you to wake up in the morning and know exactly what you need to be doing, right? And not get lost and distracted in, okay, I know I'm supposed to post, but I don't know how to post. I don't know what to post. I don't know who to connect to. Like, none of that needs to be a worry anymore. If you could get up and know exactly what you needed to do, for me, I know I have an hour every morning that I do that. I get that handled. And then if I want to spend the day with the kids, I can. Or if I want to go spend the day playing with my body, I can, right? Because I know exactly what I need to be doing. And then we'll be helping you to neutralize your blocks to productivity. We all have them, right? We all have ideas that this won't work, or it's too hard, whatever those are. I'm going to teach you some additional tools or help you remember the tools you've already learned and get into a real practice of utilizing those in relation to increasing your visibility around your social connections.
So let me restate this. So we are at the apex of the easiest time it has ever been to connect with people around the world.
Yep. How many of you want a global business, get paid to travel the world?
Yeah. Right. Hundreds of millions of people are online. Right. And it doesn't matter if you like Instagram, It doesn't matter if you like Facebook. It doesn't matter if you like LinkedIn. It doesn't matter if you have a website. It doesn't matter if you have a product to sell, right? It doesn't matter if you don't go online, right? The strategies that Mandy is giving you are designed to shift how you show up, to get you into bigger conversations, to get you into bigger possibilities for you, right? She's going to give you the templates of what to say and how to say it so that you crazy people can say, no, I know how to do it better, and figure out your own way to do it, right? But you're never going to be able to say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to post, right? This is a single day. It's not even all day, but we're going to go through enough time so that we can have a customized approach and walk through and talk with you about your strategy and your business so you walk out having a blueprint.
Yeah, a blueprint that you can use over and over again. All of our clients use it continuously, like every day they wake up, they know who to go connect to, they know how to check in with their team to make sure their team is doing it. They know how to elevate their energetic frequency or the frequency of their current content so that they can attract clients as if by magic, right?
So you were going through the content, the 7 steps, right? Mm-hmm. You had create, organize, neutralize, nail down your follow-up, elevate your energetic frequency, clear your points of view, and track your progress. So what you've done is you've given people a real like how to, right? And then a why to, and then a way to like get out of your own way is what I get out of that. A lot of times you get out of your own, you get in your own way, and that's why you might procrastinate or why you might have some fear.
Yeah. So the entire recording is going to be, entire training will be recorded and available to you. If you can't attend live, we're going to be having a couple of follow-up Q&A call times in November. We'll set those times and dates based off of who joins us and what works for everybody. It will be a small, intimate group, so you guys will have plenty of time to sort of ask your own specific scenarios. But this is really to help you get systems in place that no matter where you're at in your business, you can master this essential skill that's going to help you increase your income. It's going to invite you into opportunities that are bigger, introduce you to people you've never been introduced to before, show up differently, have confidence to talk about who you are and find people who care about that. Because if we continue to just look at there's no clients, because the reality we've created is there's no clients, right? And we don't look at there's a million people right now. If I looked on LinkedIn for whatever the job title was of your ideal client, I could find hundreds in your area who don't know about you. And it's time that they know about you and they be invited to an opportunity to see if working with you might be something that they want. And if not now, you're setting and planting the seed for them to come want to work with you later. And that is just, we had somebody just this week come work with us who's been on my list for 11 years. Right? He's like, I've been reading your stuff and now I get it. Now I'm ready. Right? So if you'd like that too, I invite you to come play with us. The link is in the comments. If you're getting sent this as a replay, the link will be inside the replay email. Ron, you have any other questions?
So you're going to get guided exercises, conversation templates, conversation strategies, how to get the most out of your elevator pitch, how to max out a 15-minute virtual coffee session, how to demonstrate being interested in others in order to exponentialize your results. You're going to get email introductions and follow-up scripts, phone scripts. These are the exact questions that we ask so that you'll be comfortable and the conversation will be relevant to the outcome that you desire, right? And most people never get that they're hiding. They never admit that they're playing small. They believe they'll blossom when, right? They'll get bigger clients when, and I'll achieve more after, right? I'll be happier once I, right? You can fill in all those blanks, and those blanks might differ like person to person, but a lot of times it roots in fear and guilt and not feeling like you're enough. And by choosing beyond these limitations, you become that butterfly. you become transformed because those old patterns and identities, those old personas, right, no longer apply to you. You're becoming the person you desire and creating the reality that you want for you. So if you're curious on these topics, if you know that you have patterns that you'd like to shift, if you're ready to up level and change your life, we'd invite you to our Connections to Clients virtual training program. Love to see you. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. You can hit us in the chat. You can hit us in the line and look for more discussions about these classes, right? For a lot of times for us, we want to create value around this, but we also look at these as first dates. It's a chance to get to know you guys, chance to get more of your business, to know more about how you function in the world, because ultimately we're trying to create a lot of change in the world and we're trying to invite you to be a participant in it. We appreciate your time today. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Take care.